Alright, so this is Tom, and that's Mike.
Howdy.
We're going to be showing you how to do a quick in-cab inspection. It's all visual. A lot of common things in every single truck, no matter what you get in. I mean, this truck has a lot of things, but it's going to have a lot of things that some trucks don't have, and that some, other trucks are going to have things that this doesn't have. So
I'm parked with my seatbelt, making sure that it functions.
that is part of the cab inspection. You want to make sure
that it clicks. The seatbelt itself has no frays, tears, wear, anything like that. Make sure that it functions. Alright,
so
works.
Seatbelt works. I'm not keeping it on while I'm doing the in-cab inspection. I will have a Red Bull. Gives you wings.
That way if you crash the truck, you can fly away.
Damn right. Alright, so basic essentials. Alright, they want you to look at the key. Physically look at the key. Is it bent? Actually, it is. Slightly bent. But
show my viewer. A little bit bent there.
I know you saw that drip right there. Alright. So it does have a slight bend to it, but what you do, you insert it into the key slot and you see if it impedes the key from doing its job. Click right over, does its thing. You're going to see all these dash lights come on, okay? That is a quick system check. Everything's going to go through its deal. See these two red lights right here? Probably not, because the steering wheel's in the way. Alright, so right here and right here, those are your low air warning indicators. Right now we're sitting at
secondary.
Yep, you got primary and secondary air. Just want to make sure that both of them completely full when you do your thing. Alright, so there's a wait to start function on most of these. And all the little sensors have gone away. I'm in neutral. I've made sure via my gear shifter. And I'm going to start her up. Alright, so start it up. You see how the ABS blinks and the parking brake blinks? Parking's got the park brake signal because it doesn't have enough air to release the parking brakes. And we're going to want to watch all that. What you can do, you can pull the engine up to about 1500. That's about the max you want to do. It's governed, I think, at 1500. It is.
Yeah.
So, and then you're watching your air gauges. They're rolling up.
Off above what, 160?
Oh, they'll kick off about 65 psi, the low pressure, but a good rule of thumb is to get it up to 100 psi or better before you move the truck. I mean, that's just a very good way to do it. That way, you know, as you're releasing your air brakes and everything, you're not losing too much to have functional service brakes. So we're just watching everything. So both of our low air indicators kicked off. Alright, so we're also going to continue to watch this, and we're going to listen for the air dryer. So a good thing to do is to roll down your windows and listen for that air dryer to kick on and off. When that air dryer kicks off and you hear that puff of air and the air pressure quits building, you know the governor is kicked off. You want it to do such around 120 psi or greater. No more than 130 and no less than 120 do you want that governor to kick off. So I'm just holding this thing at a higher idle until I hear that air blow off. In the meantime, I'm looking at everything, making sure on my sheet I'm going to record the mileage. I'm going to look at my oil pressure. I'm picking about 45 psi right now, my oil pressure. You just heard my clutch fan kick in. It's doing a test. And we're approaching the 120 mark. You hear that puff of air? That means the governor kicked off and it's no longer building air pressure. We're sitting at a good 125 psi solid, which is a very common setting for most of your on-the-road trucks is 125 PSI. Other than that,
Safety feature like your horn.
yep, you've seen all the actual dashes. You have the steering wheel horn, which you call your city horn. Then you got your road horn or your big one. That's all air. You're going to go through and you're going to look at all your switches. You're going to flip all your switches on, your dash lights, your cab lights. You're going to see that everything starts turning on in the back, as you saw. You have, where is it on here? Oh, you have your auto idle. We're not going to mess with that while we're in here. We can switch it on, switch it back off, and just make sure that we see that the gauge is functioning in here for now. You have your suspension dump. I'm dumping the suspension currently, and I'm going to let it go all the way down. And as I'm dumping my suspension, and when I go to refill my suspension, I'm watching my air pressures to see if they're going up or down, and how much they're going up and down. 5 to 10 PSI loss on a complete airbag inflation is not a bad loss. And then you want to make sure that your air pressure kicks back on when it gets low enough. We don't do that through other testing. We'll show you in a little bit. So I just activated my suspension to fill back up. No, my bad. Now I'm going to dump it.
Air suspension. Lower.
Alright, so I'm dumping the suspension right now. And all those switches are up and over here. Okay, behind the computer. And you will want to make sure that this is working properly. So go up into here, see that everything kind of functions, get back out, go to home. You go to performance monitoring, and it'll show you right here what's going on. Okay? Saying that it's running. Idle is 50%, over idle is 56%. That's how much time during the 2 hours that it had ran that it had been over idle. Showing us RPM. So I'm going to take this number right here, I'm going to match it to my dash, and they should be pretty close. Showing about 800 on my dash, and right about 800, 798 right there. So we're pretty close. This is your immediate, this is what you're going to see as you're driving down the road. So you want this to be pretty accurate. Alright, so my suspension is completely deflated. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to watch these two gauges as I fill it back up. So I hit my inflate. You should watch, you want to see them drop. And you can see that the secondary is dropping. Okay. Maybe hard for you guys to see, but it's dropping down. So far I've lost about 8 PSI. And it is stopped. Okay. Now, this particular truck we're working on, just to give you a heads up, doesn't have a drive shaft in it. So, I won't be doing any brake testing as far as with doing the pulls and this, that, and the other. We'll go ahead and switch off all my lights. What I am going to do is you take and you lightly keep your foot on the brake. Even though the drive shaft's out, I can test to make sure that the deflation rate, the rate in which it pulls air from, as you can heard, that was the governor just kicking back off. Making sure that when I take my brakes off, I have a reasonable drop of air pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and push to release my air brakes, and I'm watching my air pressure, and I just lost about 8 to 10 PSI in both tanks. That's perfectly acceptable. Perfectly acceptable. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and activate the brakes. And all it did was let all the air back out of the bag. Okay, I have no leaking, here at my valves. When I did that, I'm looking for that. I'm looking to hear that my range selector doesn't have any leaks when I go up and down on my range selector. You know, once it's up, you shouldn't hear any leaks. Once it's down, you shouldn't hear any leaks. You'll hear a little puff of air in between there, and that's just letting the air in and out. You should also hear clicking below you. Proper way to test it, yet again I don't have a drive shaft, so I don't want to play that game right now, is you would physically put it into gear, select your range selector into a different position, shift it into neutral. And at that point, once you shift it into neutral, you should hear the clicking, and you should hear the range selector selecting a mode, only in neutral. Other than that, we're going to go through the general functions, and I'm not going to have to show you all of it, because you know how to work air conditioning. You're going to go from your lowest fan speed all the way to your highest fan speed, and you're going to see how, if there's a difference between all, I got 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. There should be a different speed on every one of them. So as I lower it back down, I can feel that it progressively gets slower until it turns off. I got 0, I got 1, 2's a little higher, 3's higher, and 4's even better. I got cold, I switch it to hot immediately, and you should feel starting to get toasty. Our engine temperature right now is only about 120, so it's not going to really warm up as much until it gets up to operating temperature of about 190 to 210. Other than that, it's going through the basics. I mean, check your radio, make sure all your stuff's on, you know, everything's working the way it's supposed to.
You tired paper.
Going through your dash, making sure that all the little indicators and all that, all the selections will work. I mean, the basic stuff. Make sure everything in the driver's reach works. Number 1, safety-wise, view-wise, is your windshield wipers. You definitely want to make sure when you don't think they're important until it starts raining. They're very important. You want to make sure your fluid works. This one's out of fluid, but you can hear that the sprayer is trying to spray. High beams, low beams, turn signals.
Diagnostics and no fault found.
Yep. There is a diagnostics display screen right here, and you could go through the selector, and it changes everything. You can go through and get your options, go to truck information. You can go in here and you can go to your ABS info, and it says it's appendix. That's important, so when you go to look up diagnosing, there you go. You can also go in there and you can look up your engine info. Got a Cummins ISX, it's an 07. Important to know. All this is inside your cab. You want to make sure you see it. Governed speed limit, 65. You know, all kinds of information inside the truck. Other than that, it's a pretty basic deal. I mean, you want to make sure everything works. Everything that gives the driver all his information. Anything seems off, that could be a hazard to the driver. You want to note it, you want to check it, look up your service information, and take it from there. Always record your miles, record your hours. Makes a difference. Other than that, you guys catch you on the next video.